Hi, my name is Hrish Lotlikar. I'm co-founder and CEO of SuperWorld. Today, I'm going to explore the future of NFTs and how augmented reality will enhance our lives. First of all, I'll go into my background and kind of tell you the story of how, we got to the point of starting SuperWorld and our vision for SuperWorld. And then I'll go into that high-level vision of what we're building at SuperWorld, and then talk about how SuperWorld, which is powered by NFTs, is enabling augmented reality to enhance our lives, and talk about the different ways that NFTs will continue to transform our lives and the world. First of all, let me go into my background. So my background is I start off my career in management consulting, investment banking in New York. I was on Wall Street. I was at UBS and HSBC doing corporate finance, public finance, and mergers and acquisitions, and then got into venture capital, investing across tech and biotech in New York. About 10 years ago, I had this crazy idea. Wouldn't it be cool to go somewhere in the emerging markets and start a VC fund? So I set off to Eastern Europe. Didn't really know anyone out there, but I ended up starting out in Ukraine, and then Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Moldova. Finally settled on Ukraine after that trip, and took me about a year and a half, but I ended up starting a venture capital fund in Ukraine backed by Viktor Pinchuk and his East One group. We invested in about 35 companies out there, and Preply was one of our companies. They just did a Series B round. Did the same thing in Belarus. I'm on the board of Tech Minsk, which is backed by the US State Department in Minsk, Belarus. And then as well, after that was an early team member, first biz dev at TopTal, which is a global talent marketplace backed by Andreessen Horowitz. So had a really great experience learning about how to scale and build a technology startup, and started living all around the world remotely and nomadically. About 5 years ago, I co-founded Rogue Initiative Studios, which is a film, television, gaming, and virtual reality studio in Hollywood. My co-founder produced Call of Duty, Modern Warfare series, and Ghosts, and my partner is Michael Bay, the action director. And at Rogue Initiative, what we're doing is we're building new franchises that go across feature film, television, gaming, virtual reality, all the way to amusement park rides and toys. We're backed by a number of the top venture capital funds in the augmented reality and virtual reality space, based in Silicon Valley as well as globally. And the point is I come from the augmented reality and virtual reality space as well. And basically about 4 years ago, what happened was Pokemon Go came out and became this huge sensation. Fastest company in history to hit $1 billion in revenue, and they've continued to do really well. A company called Niantic, and we thought to ourselves, what if we can build a platform? If we can't build the next Pokemon Go, what if we could build a place where the next 1,000 Pokemon Go's gets built onto it? And that was kind of like the high level vision for what we built at SuperWorld, is let's build a world. And I partnered with my co-founder. His name is Max Woon. Max and I previously worked together on the YouTube platform, and we got together and we were very excited about that mission. Max has a prolific background as well in terms of startups and technology. He co-founded Xfire and sold it to Viacom, but he's worked at Fizzle, Sliver, Skit, and Toonstar as a founder and early team member, and previously worked in Stephen Hawking's department at Cambridge. And so we got together and we were like, what, let's build a world. And that was kind of how we built SuperWorld. And so if I walk through kind of the high level vision of SuperWorld, just to give you a sense for, how it works, and to kind of help you better understand, the world we're building. If I come to any place in the world, New York, London, Paris, Singapore, anywhere in the world, you could say, Hrish, why don't you just check out my world? And I could walk around and you've left me things. You've left a hologram of yourself somewhere. You've left photos and videos in different places. You've left messages at your favorite restaurants about what I should eat and drink. You've personalized the real world in augmented reality. I have a world, you have a world, brands have worlds. So there could be an infinite number of worlds, right? So HSBC Bank could put content in the park next to your house. But then again, your favorite artist could put NFTs there, right? And you have the ability to see all of these things in these different filters of the world. And so on a high level, what I've described is a combination of Pokemon Go, which is an analogy for adding digital information to the real world, meets Foursquare, which is a data analogy. And on the data side, I want to be really clear, we really believe in data integrity, data monetization for users. We believe in data sovereignty. The high level goal of SuperWorld is how can we build a better world and how can we enhance people's lives? And a lot of that has to do with data. And there's a big disillusionment on the data side about what's happening with social media. And it's really important to us at SuperWorld is that we built a platform fundamentally that helps people enhance their lives and enhance their real world. And so you can earn cryptocurrency, you can earn NFTs when you do actions in SuperWorld, but also every action in SuperWorld will benefit the real world. As an example of that, this month for Earth Month, we're planting a tree every time someone buys virtual land or virtual plot of land in SuperWorld. And so we want to make sure that every action that users do in SuperWorld also benefit the real world, because without a real world, what's the point? And, as far as this talk today, we'll go into some of the economics and, some of the financial aspects of how augmented reality are going to benefit the world. And we'd love to kind of help and innovate in that. And then the third part of SuperWorld of the analogy is monopoly. So we've divided the surface of the Earth into 64 billion virtual blocks. Each of these blocks is a unique digital asset on the Ethereum blockchain. We're blockchain agnostic, but we have started building on Ethereum. It's the largest dApp ecosystem in the world. And so, if you buy a block, you're buying an ERC721 token. And when you own that block, you're getting a share of any of the economics that happen there: advertising, e-commerce, digital commerce, data, analytics, gaming. So, anything that happens on that plot in the infinite number of filters that can exist there, you'll get a share of. And so essentially, you become a key stakeholder on the platform. And on top of that, we're building other applications. So we have a mobile application that allows you to create, discover, and monetize anything, anywhere. And we also are launching an NFT marketplace, which allows anyone to create digital assets and put those digital assets anywhere in the world. And we're going to talk a lot about that because all of that takes place in augmented reality around us in the real world. What I'd like to do really quick is to show you a quick demo of SuperWorld, a demo video to give you a sense for what SuperWorld is in our high-level vision, which will start now. Hello and welcome. I'm Hrish, co-founder and CEO of SuperWorld, a virtual world in augmented reality, where creativity and entrepreneurship come together on one decentralized platform. From the Empire State Building to the Sydney Opera House to some of the more obscure places on Earth, in SuperWorld, our world is yours. Yours to buy, yours to sell, yours to create, and yours to explore. SuperWorld is mapped on top of the real world to create over 64 billion unique plots of land, with each plot measuring roughly 100 meters by 100 meters of real-world space. To give you an idea, one plot of SuperWorld AR real estate is about the size of Yankee Stadium. Ready to get started? Find land to cultivate for its strategic real estate location as a digital asset or that holds sentimental value for you. Buying and selling virtual real estate in SuperWorld is easy, as all transactions take place securely on the Ethereum blockchain, and every plot of land is represented by a non-fungible token on the ERC721 standard. Personalize your world in AR through interactive 3D objects, animation, photos, videos, and text to truly make a world of your own. Ready to find your peace on Earth? Join us in SuperWorld. So first of all, I'd like to start off by talking about, how we are powering SuperWorld with NFTs and building a way for augmented reality to enhance our lives, and talk about the future of NFTs. So first, I'll start by explaining some of the terms here and explaining the frameworks. And so, NFTs are intrinsically part of blockchain technology, and that's a foundational technology that provides a trusted, immutable public ledger of data or transactions. And it's supported by mining and cryptocurrencies and other technologies, just like, we think of TCP/IP and HTTP creating the internet. Blockchain technologies like NFTs are coming together to enable ways of creating, sharing information, and transacting on the internet. So what are NFTs? Well, first of all, they're immutable public records of ownerships and transactions. So NFTs create a layer of trust for any type of transaction without the need for a third party like a government entity. So when I sell you a digital asset as an NFT, our transaction is stored algorithmically as a public record on the blockchain. Our transaction is immutable. It can't be altered in any way by anyone or any organization. It's programmable, so it can enable a new type of royalty income for creators. So unlike, paper certificates, NFTs are programmable, and that's huge. And the important part of NFTs is they can be programmed so that the original issuer of the NFT can receive a percentage of all secondary sales of the NFT. So if Beeple's artwork is sold to another buyer, Beeple, the original issuer, the publisher in this sense, or the creator, can receive a royalty payment based on the size of that transaction, that future transaction, and every transaction that happens after that. So this is huge in the world of digital assets. For the first time, scarce assets can deliver recurring revenue to their issuers. NFTs have introduced the concept of scarcity to digital media. Today's digital media companies are going against a very fundamental law of economics, supply and demand. The birth of the internet, made all of this data and content and information so available that there's an infinite supply and an ability to access it. And that is what made it very hard to, monetize. And so that is kind of what this NFT movement is helping to transform, is the ability for creators to directly monetize with their fans and followers and the consumers of the content. So first of all, I'm going to talk about some very high-level use cases for NFTs vis-a-vis the augmented reality world and virtual worlds, just to kind of set the landscape to some major kind of use cases. And then we'll kind of go dig deeper into specific categories and talk about how specifically, some of these NFTs are going to be utilized. And the beauty of this is a lot of this is evolving. So, it's going to be exciting to watch the landscape grow and continue to evolve. But first of all, I'm going to talk about selling virtual products. So the augmented reality, landscape really enables us to start building and creating anything virtually. So a virtual product is exclusively a digital representation of a product. It could be a virtual representation of a real product, or it may be a product that only exists virtually or in the virtual realm. And so while these products may not be real in the way we traditionally consider reality or physical, they are very real in that people spend money to own them. And for many companies, the applications of virtual products might be obvious. It's easy to imagine someone buying a certain fast model of a virtual car or plane to drive in a simulator or game, but someone else might buy, virtual fashion or, accessories to be in a virtual environment, the same way they would in real life. And so the main idea here about virtual products is that if it makes sense in the real world, they can probably be bought and sold in the virtual world. And so think of the broad spectrum of the products that you buy in the physical world, and all of those things can be translated virtually. And that's what we're doing at SuperWorld as well. So that's the exciting part of kind of what this, this technology enables us to do. And as we progress towards an immersive multiverse, the value of those products will only increase, especially as we apply NFT technologies to them. Secondly, the broad kind of idea here about these virtual worlds or virtual environments is, companies and brands and individuals have the ability to reach a massive audience. So it's pretty well known nowadays that the global video game industry is larger than the sports and film industries combined, which is remarkable. And amazing in that it's growing so fast. But not only are these audiences very large, but they're likely different in very important ways than the traditional audiences that marketers maybe market to in their traditional areas of domain expertise. But by companies utilizing NFTs and virtual products, they're able to reach this audience, this, oftentimes younger audience, oftentimes more, technologically forward audience, oftentimes, a socioeconomically, higher audience that probably can spend more dollars. And so, this is an interesting opportunity for brands and audiences to, monetize with a different audience from potentially what they're traditionally marketing to. And luxury brands in particular find value in potentially allowing virtual users to purchase virtual versions of their expensive products long before they could do that in the real world. And those brands could be car brands or brands that are innovating in a variety of areas, in some areas where the real products don't even yet exist, right? So it's pretty exciting. And then the third major category is in protecting IP. So most people's first question about virtual products is, how does a product maintain value if it can be copied, right? And obviously in the physical world, counterfeiting is a problem, and many industries go through that. But in the virtual world, things get a little bit more interesting and a little bit more complex. So in the physical world, we can look at counterfeiting and we can kind of identify it by the materials and craftsmanship, and what separates something that is fake versus what's real is usually those characteristics. You can look at it and kind of identify or look for certain markers. However, in the virtual world, it's very easy to reproduce an exact replica of a virtual item. And the question comes up is, how do you maintain and enforce that scarcity and that exclusivity with those virtual products? And that's exactly where NFTs come in. So an NFT is a secure means of protecting and asserting that ownership over a virtual asset. So if a virtual product is protected by this NFT structure, that's what allows you to point to that direct product file and not to any other copy or forgery of that product. And so when you sell an NFT, you're selling proof of ownership of the asset. And it allows IP owners to sell and to enforce these licensed uses of IP in virtual spaces. And NFTs are just one way of identifying and protecting virtual ownership, and which is very important. And aside from protecting, IP and virtual ownership, what's also really interesting is NFTs can be used to also protect the physical products from counterfeiting and unauthorized reselling by applying NFT-linked virtual renderings of your product as an example. And so you're able to, create ways that these products and these NFTs are linked, so online and offline connections. And so that's really special and important. And so now I'm going to drill into some specific use cases as it applies to NFTs and how NFTs can really reshape finance, the digital economy, and e-commerce. First of all, I'm going to start with digital media, which is I think an industry that a lot of us are in contact with every day in all of our platforms. So in the music industry, charging for access to media has largely not worked because it's very easy to copy music, and it's very easy to create a file that can be listened to in audio or analog form. And video, for example, you've seen a little bit more success and protection just because of the quality of the video or the media and other things, or maybe the file size. But in large part, I think all of us really understand that people are paying for this content because of the convenience for accessing the high quality content. But we all know that really this media can be accessed for a variety of ways in a free form. And globally, as we think of content, it often is accessed very freely. Text media is slightly different. So in text, you're able to, have some instances where publications, can have paywalls, and we're able to protect that content. I think this is kind of limited to brands that can enforce that and have the ability and a connection with their consumers and their customers, where they can ask those customers to pay for that content. But as we look at the digital media landscape, it's really largely the technology companies that are able to benefit from, providing the enablement of discovery and consumption of content. And so for artists and creators, this is unfortunate, because the economic reality is that, in a world of, ubiquitously, discoverable content and available content, it's hard to monetize. And that's exactly what makes NFT technology so interesting, is it brings back the scarcity to this equation of digital media. And so a single image created by an artist like Beeple, which sold for, $69 million, again, is minted as a unique NFT on a blockchain, by Christie's. And there's only a single copy of that NFT. And it shows the importance of, being able to limit the supply side of economics in this type of transaction. And so no matter how many times people create a digital copy of that piece of artwork, only the token holder of the actual NFT can claim to own the real version of it. And so again, you see this in music as well. Electronic music producer Blau, basically created the first digital tokenized album and generated millions of dollars, about 11 million in online sales. And one of his songs generated about 3.5 million, right? And so we're seeing NFTs bringing back the fundamentals of supply and demand to digital media. And these economics are coming back as a force for good in the artist community. Second, I'm going to talk about social tokens and personal tokens as another use case of how NFTs are really revolutionizing this world. And all of this also existing in augmented reality. So NFTs can be used as a social token, providing perks and shared economic ownership in an artist's success with their community of fans. So, this provides them the ability to connect directly with their fans without restrictions from intermediaries. And so those intermediaries aren't able to take a portion of that income anymore. And that's really powerful. And so artists are able to, first be direct, and also, create examples of real live, concerts as an example, and be able to create NFTs that allow their fans to share in certain privileges or rights or access and really create this, very powerful ticket that didn't exist before in paper form, in this digital form that unlocks benefits based on, what the artist wants to provide for, specific fans or specific holders of tickets. And so those tokens and very personal tokens really kind of revolutionize what's possible. We also see this happening in the luxury and fashion industry. So, NFTs can totally reshape that market because, items like bags and watches and shoes and wine, even, all of these markets, you've seen the secondary markets that form around, buying and selling luxury goods. And what's awesome is that the NFT market can really power all of that by, again, addressing counterfeiting and easing the ease of transactions and cost of transactions and really the trust in that marketplace. And so you can imagine or look at something, in a virtual way and, experience it and get an understanding of it and be able to see it in augmented reality, understand it's real, understands it's authentic. You can buy and sell it, and then only then can the physical transaction potentially take place. So you can do two transactions. You get the virtual transaction and then the physical transaction. So that's super powerful for luxury brands. And another way of that's really interesting is luxury brands can create content on the physical side or create physical goods on the physical side that also they can program as NFTs. So every resale of a physical good, they're able to get, a percentage of those sales. And that's currently unheard of, right? It doesn't happen in that market, and very interesting, changes the economics of the luxury market in many ways. The other use case, which is very close to our heart at SuperWorld, is virtual real estate and architecture. So virtual real estate allows us to, completely reshape and reimagine our cities. Can you imagine being able to see a city that's being built before it's built and being able to, help kind of shape what those buildings and these structures and these communities that we're building around us can look like before they're actually even constructed in real life. And so I think you'll see a complete new era in economics that extend into the real world, powered by blockchain technology and NFTs. So literally the opportunity to recreate the physical world and improve the physical world using blockchain. And another use case is title ownership and transfer. So moving from more creative to real world applications, NFT technology can reshape our processes around real world property ownership. So currently we think of a title as a way of defining that ownership and a means of transfer. And so NFT will drive newer and more innovative marketplaces, enabling title transfers into all different various asset types. And over the long term, we can replace this legacy infrastructure, and we can really, create real ownership that reduces costs and greater efficiency. And then the other major thing is NFTs and DeFi. So NFTs can help to expand the market for collateral and DeFi lending. DeFi is a category that is exploding. And currently, we think of crypto holdings as the category for collateral. But with the advent of augmented reality and virtual worlds, all of these assets are available for collateral. NFTs, provide a way for virtual real estate to be held as collateral and DeFi, or virtual assets that be created as NFTs to be held as collateral. Same in the insurance market. These NFTs can be traded on a secondary market. And so literally the economics in DeFi market is going to be really expanded by augmented reality and virtual reality in virtual worlds like SuperWorld. And finally, NFTs can support great causes. And that's something that's also very dear to our heart at SuperWorld. SuperWorld's all about building a better world, and how can we utilize NFT technologies and investments in NFT technologies to benefit the real world. So that's really important to us. I'd like to conclude by talking about the fact that augmented reality technology and applications and immersive computing in general will completely transform our way of interacting and transacting. When we live in the internet of places, everything around us will have content and NFTs, and those will give us authenticity, tradability, and we'll be able to share in the economics through that immutability that exists forever. And that's a very powerful combination that will change our lives. And that is the future of our society. And that is what I call SuperWorld. Thank you again.